feel free to turn your oh, feel free to turn your camera off because I understand that not everyone wants to be on YouTube, so that'll be fine. So yeah, thank you for coming along today. So in case people aren't familiar with this sort of the Universal Viewer or our program of community sprints, so the UV is a piece of software, um, open source software that allows our users to access digital content. So really at its core, it's a consistent interface for all your collection items, and that is images, documents, multimedia, audiovisual, and 3D, which is obviously currently being massively worked on in the IIIF community. Um, Open source software is free to use and to distribute, and the big thing for us is that it's developed collaboratively, and that's what we're doing here with the Universal Viewer. And we've got a very rich and diverse community working on the UV currently. And for the past 18 months, we've been running a series of community sprints, and where members of the community come together to work on specific development areas. And so these development areas are decided by the steering group, and prioritised by the steering group, and then scheduled during the year. And they are absolutely open. Anyone can attend, can participate, which means it's a really global and cross-institutional, as they say, effort. But it really means that we all contribute and benefit from everybody's work and skills and experience. So if you think about problem solving, there's going to be somebody that knows something that maybe you don't, and vice versa. And we all learn from each other. And it's sort of almost an unofficial mentoring experience. I find the more experience I get with them, I learn from my colleagues, and it's a really lovely way to work. But it's really important to note as well that participants will be doing this alongside their own day jobs. Even the BL colleagues, we do have a specific UV team here at the BL, but even we will be doing other work alongside these sprints. So it's not just, this isn't the only work that's going on in the Universal Viewer community. It's not the only work that's going on in all these other institutions. But it really demonstrates that the investment that these other institutions are putting into the Universal Viewer, the faith they have in it as a product to do that. But it also, I think, demonstrates the possibilities with regards to delivering at pace that working in this way opens up. You know, you can really get tasks done very quickly, alongside lots of other different tasks as well. So for our institutions that are particularly time and resource strapped, it can be a really great way of working. And it is part of our strategic vision as a community, and we're working on a roadmap for development that will embed this. This is going to be embedded into our strategic vision going forward. And as part of these projects, we run reviews such as these. So these are a regular event on our community calendar. They will happen on the last day of each sprint at 4 p.m. UK time. And they're just really informal, just designed to give everyone a good overview of what we've been working on, a demo if we can, and a chance for you just to see that we are an active, engaged community, and ask us some questions and give us some feedback, because we're here really to serve our community, which includes everybody here. And like the sprints, they're open to all, so you'll see people from all over the place. We put the invitations on our social media, so it really is anybody can jump in. And this is probably a good time to introduce our community team. So you have me, I'm Erin Bland, and I'm product owner for the Universal Viewer based at the British Library at our site in Yorkshire in the UK. I have a team with me, some of whom are here and some of whom aren't. I mean, that's the case for our whole community team this sprint, because everyone's been poorly. But we have James Misson and Sarah Atka, who are research software engineers at the British Library. We have Lani Okaradudu, who is our senior testing engineer at the BL. Sarah from National Library of Wales is our Scrum Master and keeping us all in check. And her team, Jonathan Phillips and Mark Gavier, also from the National Library of Wales. We have Damien Katz from Villanova University, I don't think he's here. And we have Stacey Reddick from Design for Context. So they've all been working really hard this sprint. And I think we're on the first one as well, because this is the second, as I'll go into. So Sarah's already shared the Miro. So this is the second sprint in our website development project. I'll just try and find can you go over to the product goal, Sarah? Remind me of the product goal. So this, when we started off in our sprint inception, right back at the first sprint, our product goal was to transfer ownership and maintenance to the community so we can make the Universal Viewer website a sustainable, authoritative resource that makes clear what the UV is, showcases the latest stable release, connects users to relevant information, and fosters active community participation. So just going sort of into that a bit more, because you might think, why do we not have ownership of our website? The UV was a bit of you might know Ed. He was responsible for a lot of the work and a lot of setting up of various things many years ago. As the community's got more engaged, more, active, we're trying to take that responsibility from him so that we can all contribute and it's not just on one person, because obviously that's no way to work. You shouldn't have any sort of single point of failure. So that's what we've been trying to do. So it's sort of like those fiddly admin type tasks, and with a view to making everything more sustainable, and that we can go in, we can make edits, we can add content in a way that keeps everything going and makes it really useful. So that was our product goal back in November. So last sprint was a discovery sprint. So we were really focusing on discussions around technical infrastructure, and we were starting research activities off. So I think if we move over to the bit with our what we delivered, yeah. My eyes are terrible. So as you can see, these were sort of like decision making, and we really wanted to put all that into. So this sprint was about putting all that into action. So our MVP this sprint was we wanted a development website branch with basic content and, oh, can you move over? Thank you. We're trying to do things. Yeah, that's it. Documented building instructions, personas, and user journeys tested with stakeholders to ensure all account credentials were documented and tested, and temporary redirects in place for older websites. And so our definition of done with this in mind was to document and test all account credentials centrally, hold a session to explore Netlify, because I'm not sure anybody was particularly well versed on that, redirect any examples page to a single Netlify instance, hold a workshop to create development branch populated on GitHub with deployment README and some basic single language content, and arrange user workshops to explore the current personas and develop user journeys. So quite a mouthful and quite a lot to get through, but that was our definition of done. So is it time would it be worth sharing the board now, Sarah, if you could? Thank you very much. Thank you. So the last sprint, the work followed sort of two streams. So we had the sort of technical discussions and we had the more user-focused activities, and that has continued into this sprint. So I'll just go through some of the UX activities that we've been doing, and I'm going to pass over to Jonathan, who can go through the more technical issues on the board. So the user research side of things in a project like this is really important, because you sort of need to understand your users and their requirements in order to decide what content you're going to have. But there's always a challenge doing these user research activities in sort of matching the pace of the development activities, because you're dealing with people and not code. So there is different dependencies in play. But we made really good progress. I think one of our we have a project plan for the research. We wrote and tested a script. I should say that we decided on the format as well that we're going to be doing these user sessions in. And this is building on work that we did the last sprint that some of you might have seen during UVCon as well. So we identified user groups, user personas, and we're trying to get these assumptions that we base these personas on either discounted or affirmed, really. So that's what we're doing. So we've decided on the approach we're going to do. We call them focus groups, but I think they're probably more multi-participant interviews, because they're going to be very small. And one of our aims for this sprint was to schedule at least 4 of those, 4 sessions for each one of the user groups. So we've done a script, and we have identified our stakeholders, and we're waiting for responses. So that was a bit of a hold up. And we worked collaboratively on this. So it was a group of me, Lanny, Stacey, and Syra. So we're all ready to go now for the next sprint, and these will be scheduled in our January sprint. So yeah, I don't know if any of the UX team want to jump in and talk about anything we achieved or any challenges we encountered. Um, it's quite enjoyable work, I have to say. But if not, I'll pass over to Jonathan. Do you mind going through the technical aspects of the board, Jonathan?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so two areas technically in the sprint we dealt with. The first one was with account ownership, primarily of our domain names, which, as you said, Aaron, were previously controlled by Ed in his domain registrar account. So we created our own account and Ed transferred those to us. So now they're something we can control when we need to make changes. One outstanding aspect of that is that there's also a Cloudflare account, and we've created our own one, but we're still waiting on Ed to pass over some settings from his to ours so that we can fully take control of the full path from the domain to our hosting for the website. And one other account that Ed has transferred over is the Vercel account, which hosts the .dev version of our site, which hosts an example page, which I believe is usually, it's currently the main stable version, but can in future be a development version that we use for previewing. Whereas the current stable version is hosted with Netlify, and that will always be tracking the main stable version. So that's the one that we have redirected certain website links to so that that will always be a stable experience for anyone investigating the viewer or who needs to run some tests or wants to preview the latest version. So that's everything up from the sort of account and cloud side of things. From the website side of things, we made the decision that in redeveloping the website, we would use Astro, which is a static site generator, and we would keep using GitHub pages for our hosting because it's simple and free. Plus, it meant that the workflows that are already in place for the current website didn't need to change much. And as part of that, what we've done is ported the current website over to Astro and updated the workflow to account for the way Astro works so that any future development, the configuration for that is already in place. And so we won't have any stumbling blocks when it comes to that. I think that covers everything.
Just to say that we've also got the old version, version 3, still linked, but we put a message up saying that this is the outdated version and with a link to the version 4 for anybody who still needs to see that. But as you can see, this is very outdated compared to the most recent version. There's a lot more functionality on there.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a milestone really because not being able to access the latest stable version was a big problem. So this was one of the main aspects of our product goal right at the beginning. So this is a really great achievement, which may not seem like much, but it's taken quite a bit of work to get there. So it's been really good. Um, thank you, Jonathan. Um, would you be able to share the community board? Sorry, I'm being interrupted. Um, yes. So as you can see, we had a couple of tasks outstanding that we'd hoped to get completed, but these were really due to things out of our control and shouldn't take too much work to be completed in the next sprint. So I'm hoping to have all our user sessions scheduled and ready to go. So it's not too much of a problem, I don't think. Okay, should we go back to the Miro board and we can just have a quick overview of what went well and what we're going to be working on. So it was a brilliant it was a really lovely sprint. Working with the community team's fab. It's always great. We always manage to get loads of things done, and one of I think the big benefits is how much we learn. So you can see good communication and teamwork. We're becoming quite a mature team. for a team that is split over so many different places and is effectively temporary, we are, we're working really well together. We've got into a really good routine with our daily stand-ups, and then the potential of having a workshop after them. That is working really, really well, and you can get lots and lots done in that workshop. We decided to estimate tasks because, as well as delivering for the product, we also are all learning about agile and things like this, and this was one of our goals. Our actions to take forward to this sprint, sorry. So we estimated it was a fantastic way to really get to grips with the issues and really make sure that the whole team's understanding what we're doing. So that was a really good learning opportunity. And we were getting as major progress in solving long-standing problems. And I think that's one of the benefits of our community sprints is you do tackle these long-standing fiddly problems that get kicked down the road. So it's been really good. But what didn't go so well, and this is always tricky, but it's as you can see, we were all struck down with colds and flu, but it didn't seem to hold us back. We have discovered that it's easy to be overambitious with UX tasks, and we shouldn't be. And the dependency on external resources, which I think everyone's encountered that when they're working on projects that you involve other people, and it can be tricky. And NordPass, I don't know if anybody's had experience with NordPass, but it's not very good. So if anyone's got any recommendations for a password manager, please pass them on because it's pain. And yes, and what we'll do better next time, following on from what didn't go well. And we're going to rein ourselves in a little bit. So don't be too ambitious. It's very difficult to maybe break down tasks. It's something we all find quite challenging. And we want to start things earlier on in the sprint because, yeah, obviously. So yes, I think we've been okay, really. And then our actions, the ones in red are ones we're going to put on the next sprint board. Is because I suppose some are personal sort of actions to take forward and some affect us as a team. So we're going to continue estimating it, which is really good. We're starting to think about website design and branding and the content and what's sort of our minimum content for the end of the whole sprint, because we should really be thinking about that as well. And yes, test focus groups. I will be asking people about testing later on in the session as well, because I'd like some help from anybody that might be here today. So these are our actions. But overall, I think it was a really successful sprint. We're all continuing to work really well together and getting things done, which is the key. So has anybody got any questions? Would anybody like to jump in?
I have a question there.
Yeah.
I'm just interested about you were saying that you're kind of estimating the tasks and and aiming to have a bit more granularity within the big tasks, and that people quite like that. So I was wondering whether at some point when it's really good that the breakdown into small tasks, how much do people outside of the team then continue to work on these in between the sprints, or is it really just it's really focused on the sprints themselves, the actual work?
I think it's really, from our purposes, it's really focused on the sprint itself. When we were talking about this in our retro just previously, the actual estimation of the task, once you've gone through the exercise, we didn't really use it so much, but the process of going through as a team and looking at the task and thinking how much effort it would take was really sort of fundamental for opening the discussion up and understanding where you might have let it go. So it was good through just for the sprint, but I think in between, I'm not sure. What do you think, Sarah? Because you're our agile extraordinaire.
I would not call myself that, but yeah. The whole point of estimation really is it is obviously to work out whether we estimated the amount of effort that was required. But the main bonus is that everyone gets to understand all the tasks. So it's not just the developers that understand the developer tasks, and it's not just the content people understand the content tasks. But by the end of sprint 3, hopefully, and they're going into sprint 4, people go, oh, I know how long that takes to do, how much effort it is, how complicated it is. And it does make us rethink the wording and the definition of done, doesn't it? to
Yeah.
make sure that it is everybody understands exactly what's expected of them, because that
Yeah.
can slip at the beginning where you think, oh, we know exactly what that means. By day 6, you have no idea what exactly we decided and thought, oh, that doesn't quite sound right. So we did have some task refinement, didn't we, mid-sprint?
Yeah.
But we were using small, medium, large for these tasks rather than any kind of Fibonacci sequence. So it gives you a broader estimation of each task. And our cutoff point then was large. If it was a large, then that was defined as an epic, and then they definitely had to be split up into smaller tasks. But we can revise that at the beginning of each sprint to see if maybe a medium large is somewhere where we want to split them, etc.
It kind of sounds like part of the estimation is already working on it. So, and it's maybe then it's good to do that estimation and assessment just before kind of embarking on that task, because that is basically part of the task in a way, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially if there's any kind of doubt about what the task actually means, or the definition of the acceptance criteria and the definition of done. So it's been really useful for this team, especially to bring that in now.
Very useful. And I think this is the first sprint that we've all really had a good idea of what's expected. And it just opened a door to actually discuss it rather than thinking, oh well, I don't really know what that means, but
Yeah.
I won't say anything.
Yeah.
So it was really, really beneficial.
But
And
it
I think
does extend the inception, which is a balance you have to to try and achieve. Do we
it
sit
was,
there for 2.5 hours? But yeah, it is definitely worth it. Pre-planning is always worth the effort in sprints like this.
yeah, it was very good, but it was a very long inception.
It was.
Any other questions? I'm conscious of time. What about from anybody from the community? Would you like to ask our stakeholders any questions or any comments? No? Well, with that, I'll just some dates to have in your diary. Our next sprint is the 13th, starting on the 13th of January, running to the 29th. There'll be another stakeholder review on that final day on the 29th at the same time. So please come along, but I'll be sending reminders as usual. Our community call is a week later because it is on New Year's Day in the Triple calendar. But so that's on the 8th of Jan. So please do come along. And I do have a call for assistance because in the spirit of trying to start things earlier, as one of our actions to take through, we will be looking for testers for our new website, and that'll be in our February sprint. So if you would like to participate, please, there's lots of P's. If you would like to participate, either put your email address in the chat or message me on Slack or via my email if you have it. The more the merrier. It would be really, really good to have as many people as possible to give feedback on that. It'd be really, really helpful. And yeah, so with that, I'll say goodbye. But thank you very much for your interest and continued support of the Universal Viewer. It's great to have people here, especially on a December dark evening for us in the UK. I thought whenever everything seems like a January problem, doesn't it, really, at the moment? So it's really great to have people here. Thank you to the community team for working so hard. It's been fantastic working with you. And thank you for all the institutions that invest time and allow their teams to participate as well. So it's all great. And if I don't see people, have a fantastic Christmas. And I'll see you all in the new year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, you
Bye.
too. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.